Kevin Thornton. And this is sex, dreams, and self-control. In the beginning was heaven and hell and earth as well. And I am a formless void, a house, a yard, a TV, and a boy, and a wind swept over the face of the waters. At night there's no need to cry, in the morning rise and shine. It will never be that easy again, 'cause life can get so dark, my friends. So let there be light, and there will be light. It will be good, it will be alright. Let there be light, and there will be light. It will be good, it will be alright. It was a very typical evening in southern Indiana, at least to the common observer. I was about 6 or 7 years old, my sister still a toddler. We had all just gathered around the big wooden console TV, the kind in every other house, on this typical evening in southern Indiana. I think I was seated on the floor at my dad's feet. At my feet, Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. And a Thundercat. We had just finished a typical southern Indiana dinner of pork chops with a side of canned peas, and now had all settled in for our evening ritual of television programming. Laverne and Shirley, Happy Days, Three's Company. Although Three's Company was a bit racy for this typical southern Indiana family. What would they say at Washington Avenue Baptist Church if they knew the children had watched Three's Company? So instead, we'll watch Real People, a variety show that featured vignettes about everyday, normal people with not-so-everyday normal stories. This evening, Real People decided to push America's boundaries. But for me, it changed everything. Tonight, for the first time on national television, male strippers. Yeah. Slick and tan bodies wiggled before a mostly female, giddy audience. Pants that had apparently been Velcroed in such a manner that they could just vanish like magic, revealing a bright yellow G-string. In the back, like 2 Christmas hams. In the front, an impossibly large sack of something my child brain unable to process. There's a legend that when the first European ships arrived ashore of the Americas, the Native Americans could not see the ships, even though they were clearly in eyesight. These massive things, so foreign, their minds could not accept their existence. So they simply saw nothing. And the sudden presence of the early explorers seemed miraculous. That's how it was for me looking at the male stripper's package. What am I seeing? Then the most terrifying moment. The stripper reaches for the elastic of his underwear, obviously about to drop them straight to his feet. A tension splashes through the living room. My mother considers making a dive for the dial. Then at the exact moment of climax, the camera cuts away. A parental sigh. But I lit the fuck up. Did he just take off his underwear? I said with the same excitement reserved for Christmas morning. My father lifts an eyebrow. I think so, my mother muttered. The very next day, I recount every detail of the prior evening television spectacle to my grandmother with pure, unbridled childhood glee. Well, I don't like that sort of thing, my grandmother said with too much disdain. I do, I said. I love it, Grandma! My dad was a lover of gadgets and widgets, anything technological. We were the first in the neighborhood to have a computer, the first to have a VCR, the first to have a video camera. So I did what any normal 12-year-old boy would do. I filmed myself jacking off. After experimenting with several positions, I decided on me on my back, the camera in between my thighs, shooting up toward my face, in the background, slightly blurred. At this angle, my dick looked gigantic. It filled the entire frame and looked towering and ominous. I've heard that your brain isn't fully formed until around age 23. A good example of this concept is the fact that instead of destroying my homemade self-kiddie porn, I hid it in my underwear drawer and moved on with life. The very next day, I strolled in through the front door and headed straight for my bedroom. It seemed just like every other normal day in southern Indiana. I say a group hello to my younger, overly curious with her older brother's life sister, my mother and my father as I crossed through the living room. The first thing I notice upon entering my room, and I would like to refer to it as more of a sanctuary, really, a place of safety. As I entered my sanctuary, I immediately noticed one glaring thing. My underwear drawer is open. A wave of pure horror and tragedy washes over me. I looked, but I already knew. The tape was gone. As if it were directed for a TV movie of the week, I hear my little sister in the next room. "Are you going to ask Kevin about that tape?" she asked. Her voice ringing with the weight of someone who had just lost all of her innocence. Without missing a beat, with utter finality, "Shh," my mother buzzed with such ferocity that it burned the message deep into my soul. "We will never, never talk about this. Until I start performing a one-man show where I will speak about it freely to total strangers." As an adult, I can't help but wonder about the unique psyche throttling this had to have done to my little sister, my mother, and my father. How did it all go down? Undoubtedly, my sister was doing her daily snoop of my bedroom when she opened my underwear drawer. More than a drawer, really. I prefer to call it an underwear sanctuary, a place of underwear safety. And laid her eyes upon the unmarked black videotape resting in a nest of tighty-whities. She must have felt like motherfucking Ponce de Leon. My mother surely heard from the kitchen, a layer of true fear in her daughter's voice. My mother bolts to the living room, her maternal instincts on high. What will she encounter? An intruder? The living room ablaze? Her 12-year-old son's throbbing penis? I hope for her sake. The image was so startling, so incomprehensible, that when her eyes hit the TV console screen, that she saw nothing. Like the Native Americans standing on the shore, staring at the ocean. Huge ships just half a mile away, carrying the beginning of the end, and she saw nothing. We won't have to try that hard to try to make it right. After night comes day, after day comes night. So let there be light, and there will be light. It will be good, it will be alright. Let there be light, and there will be light. It will be good, it will be alright.